Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
My mom always says, everything's about making memories and you can't take those away. Some of my favorite memories are sitting around a table with my family, either the family I grew up with in South Dakota where I grew up, or my mom's family when we would visit in Virginia, like cracking crabs, like the smell of Old Bay seasoning. I can hear my uncle telling jokes. I can see my granny pulling those crabs out. And so making memories is very important to me. And so I'm trying to enable people to create opportunities for those memories.
That was my friend, JeriLynne Clifford, the Hill Country Bon Vivant. I am so excited to have JeriLynne join us today. JeriLynne is the definition of Southern hospitality to me. And in our conversation today, we're going to talk about her transition, courageous transition from a successful corporate career to being an entrepreneur and having a business now where she inspires confidence in women in the areas of hospitality, of cooking and decorating and styling and entertaining. And I'm just super excited about our conversation today. I know you are going to find it to be fun and inspiring and insightful and helpful to you in a variety of areas of your life. So thanks for joining. Welcome, JeriLynne Clifford, the Hill Country Bon Vivant. I am so excited to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. Yeah, super exciting time for you as you have launched into the entrepreneurial world. So let's maybe just kick off there and start there of you had a successful corporate career for many, many years and had the opportunity to decide you wanted to do something different. So what brought you to the place of, instead of choosing to take another, corporate role somewhere, to jump into the life of a creative and a maker and an entrepreneurial woman?
Well, I would say that I was a caterer for a long time, and I did that most of the time part-time, either when my kids were really young. It was some money that I would make on the side to get groceries, or for a while, my family would go to the Outer Banks, and that would be the money that I put aside for us to pay for our part of the big house rental. And so it was something that I always liked to do. It was my creative side. There were a couple times that I got to do it full time, and I was really happy about that. And then, when the economy tanks and no one's throwing parties, then you got to find another way. So I would keep going back to the corporate world. Well, in about I think it was 2016 or 2017, my physician said, you can't be doing these 12, 15-hour days on your feet, which is what you do when you're catering. It's not good for your kidneys and yada, yada, yada. So it was like, I just said goodbye to that part of my life. And when we moved to Texas, I got rid of all of my catering stuff, or I should say most of it. I did keep a little bit. And I was ready to fully immerse myself here. And I worked at a local hospital. I started off as a practice manager right before a pandemic, which I do not recommend. But it was successful, and I was very proud of the work that we did during that time. We live in a rural area where a lot of older folks, still ranchers and things, that might speak German or have problems with technology. And we taught all of our providers and everybody to do televisits. Like we did great. And then I transferred to our marketing department, and I was excited to be our community relations and outreach liaison. So I got to meet a lot of people in the community. And then it turned out that I was going to lose my job. So when you're facing that, first of all, living in a smaller community, there's not a lot of jobs that pay what you were making, because I worked at one of the, the larger employers in the area. But I also missed that catering part, that catering function, and the connectivity that you see when you're catering an event. So to me, there's a lot of electricity in that fellowship and everything that you see when you're putting food in front of people. Everyone's always happy for the most part when they see food, even at a funeral. It's like, oh, let's
Yep.
go have the
Yeah.
food, you know? So I kind of had started, I love where I live. I love the Hill Country. It's, if you don't, for people outside of Texas, it's where we have a lot of wineries, and my husband works at a winery. And so I was a real advocate for what was going on here, and decided that I would kind of start a concierge business. And I was going to do that on the side before I found out I was losing my job, because I figured, well, if I built it up over 5 years, I could maybe at 60 leave, the corporate world and start doing this. Well, when I found out I was going to lose my job, I started like, well, I can do event planning. I can do this, I can do that, and was really getting big as far as what I thought I was going to do in my head. So then I went to the Pink Creatives retreat and learned, no. You need to niche yourself. And I was like, oh, okay. I don't have to be all things to everybody. I can really focus on what I want to do. I was doing those other things to be able to do what I wanted to do, which is what I ended up doing. So I now have niched down to being the hospitality expert, not just here in the Hill Country, but I can help you wherever you are. And I do a lot of recipe creation. I'm writing a cookbook, but I also try to teach people how to cook recipes. I never went to chef school, and I'm not a chef. I have huge respect for chefs, so I'm not one at all. I'm a home cook that raised 4 kids and had a side business cooking for a long time. But I want to try to empower people who are intimidated by cooking and entertaining and having people into their home, and kind of knock down some of that fear by empowering them and saying, this is really simple. Like, if I can do this, anyone can do this type of thing. I really don't do a lot of recipes that have a ton of steps. I don't like using like jarred things. I like to make everything from scratch if possible. There's a couple things that, I will focus on, but so I'm trying to help educate and empower people to feel confident to having people in their home, creating those opportunities for fellowship, and those you're making memories sitting around a table. And my
I
mom
love it.
always says, everything's about making memories, and you can't take those away. And some of my favorite memories are sitting around a table with my family, either the family I grew up with in South Dakota, where I grew up, or my mom's family when we would visit in Virginia, like cracking crabs, like the smell of Old Bay seasoning. I can hear my uncle telling jokes. I can see my granny pulling those crabs out. And so making memories is very important to me. And so I'm trying to enable people to create opportunities for those memories.
I love that. So good. And I definitely will vouch for your recipes. I am not in any way, shape, or form a good cook. I don't even like to cook. And some of your chicken recipes and your noodle recipes and your olive tapenade that you did a reel about, I'm all in on those. So thank you for teaching about those.
Thank you for telling me that. I really appreciate that. That olive tapenade, just, you can't go wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, for sure. It's so yummy. So I think one of the things that really strikes me about what you said is just this idea of it. It seems so natural to you, yet from my perspective, there's so much risk involved. Like going into a corporate job is just easy, and there's, seemingly security and, that sort of thing. So how did you get to a place where it was like you're comfortable enough or courageous enough to take the risk of, going on your own and potentially, being without an income for X period of time and that sort of thing?
Well, I married my cheerleader. My husband, Scott, is in my corner all the time. And he obviously wants me to be happy and do what I wanted to do. And part of our move to Texas was to do that for him. He was no longer happy working in his corporate job. And he wanted to go in a different direction. And that's what we did. We moved halfway across the country, and he started working in the wine world. So I think he saw this as an opportunity for me to be able to go back to my catering that he knew I loved. Like, I would be exhausted at the end of the day when I would cater, but I'd be happy.
Yeah.
And he knew, like, when I was telling him about, I'd really like to do this, he's like, of course you can do it. Like, whatever you need to do. And so I do do some cooking classes in person at a local place here in Fredericksburg, and I can do them in your home. If you're having, a party and you'd like to have some cooking lessons done in your home, you can hire me to come in and do that. And so there's some little leaps of me bringing in some money while I'm trying to get the rest of it launched. And
absolutely.
We sat down with our financial counselor and said, how long can I do this without bringing in a major income where it won't affect our retirement? So having that financial discussion, I hate talking about money, but having that financial discussion was really important for me to feel more comfortable with Scott saying, go for it. And after I went to the Pink Creatives, it was like, I came home and I could have run a marathon. Well, actually, I probably couldn't run a marathon. But
metaphorically speaking.
Imagine running a marathon.
That's right.
With all the energy I had and the ideas, and it was like boom, boom, boom. And I really think that sometimes, you pray for answers. And my mom always said, be careful how you pray, because you might not get the answer you want, So I just kept saying, if this is what I'm supposed to do, like, show me the way. Like, well, he like threw open the doors and was like, here you go. Figure it out. So I would say having a big cheerleader and faith. I mean, I have a lot of faith. So, and then meeting great people along the way. Like I met you and the women that I met at Pink Creatives, a lot of them have been my cheerleaders. And then I'm also part of Lydia Menzies group, the Supper Club. And I've gotten to meet some of those ladies. And so I feel that, there's a bad reputation out there for social media, but I would say that I have met some truly kind people who will share my things and say, hey, give JeriLynne a follow or check out this video. I follow someone who I'm doing a styling thing with her. Her name's Erin. She's the Style Thief Fashion. If you want to follow her, she's very cool. She's in a totally different genre than I am, but sharing that experience that I have with her, and then she's sharing me, there's just constant, I think that there's more support out there than people give credit for.
Yeah. Really good reciprocity for sure. Yeah,
absolutely. And collaborations, I love the word collaborations. I have a lot of collaborations that I've done. I have a lot on the forefront that I'm going to be doing. And I think collaborating with people, either, if you're doing a creative thing, social media wise, or if you're doing something in person, if you're doing something with one other person and you each have 2,000 followers, then they see what the other person is doing. And I just think it's like, not only do they see the other person, but they see like, oh, wow, she's willing to work with another woman and not be intimidated by her business. And I think that that's super important. So all kinds of cheerleaders, you need cheerleaders everywhere you go.
I love that. So good. What, so if you were, kind of back up to 9 months ago and kind of starting out, is there anything that you would do differently than what you've done up to this point?
I don't know. I really don't know if there is anything that I would have done differently, because the things that I've learned, I wouldn't have learned if I didn't make some of the mistakes that I've made, or was a little slow on making a decision for that. I don't like saying coulda, woulda, shoulda. I think we make decisions based on circumstances that we see at the time. And so I would say I'd probably do it the same.
Okay. That's awesome. I love that. Courage Becomes Her is brought to you in part by my coaching, Laurel Emery and Company. I'm so grateful that you've been tuning in to Courage Becomes Her for these last handful of weeks. And I want to let you know that I've received feedback on 2 different areas that we're going to talk about in some upcoming episodes. So first and foremost, I've gotten a lot of feedback and questions about what is coaching and why would I hire a coach and what does it look like to be in a coaching relationship. So I will be doing an episode in November to talk about that. Additionally, quite a few of you have commented that hearing some of the stories of these other women have been triggering to you, that they've triggered emotions in you and really kind of brought to the surface some insecurities and or fears or doubts that you have about yourself as a result of listening to other women's stories. So also in November, I'm going to be talking and doing an episode about what it looks like to navigate triggers when we hear other people's stories and what to do with those. So I appreciate the feedback and I appreciate you listening to the episodes thus far and sharing them with other women who would be encouraged or inspired or helped through these stories. Thank you. What about for someone who is potentially considering doing what you did and taking a leap? I think, a lot of women who are kind of in the, I'll say over 45 range are nervous about kind of reinventing themselves and doing something new, at that stage in life. What would you suggest or, kind of use as encouragement to a woman who might be considering a change like what you made?
Rip off the Band-Aid. Just do it. If finances are in question for you, start off small, keep your full-time job and start something on the side. Start off small, get your name out there. I think social media is a big, big asset. So if you're doing something small, if you keep sharing on that and you can, there's a lot of people who've started creative businesses that still have their full-time job, and move that way. I don't think baptism by fire is my favorite way of starting a business. I mean, my plan was to go 5 years and it's like, oh, you don't have a job anymore. Okay, well, I guess I'm starting it today. Yeah. So I don't recommend that if you don't want it that way. But I always say, you get one shot. You get one shot at life, make it the best. When people say, oh, I'd really like to, they couldn't believe we moved to Texas. And I wrote about it in my blog about us deciding we are ready to go someplace warmer. I have, some muscle problems. And so the warmth helps me. We were tired of New England winters. Sorry, New England, love you, but don't want to be there anymore. Yeah. And my husband is born and bred in Massachusetts. I was born and raised in South Dakota and then moved to cold New England. And we were just done. And so I fully believe if you decide you want to do something, make a plan and make it happen. Yeah. Giving excuses is exactly that. It's an excuse. And we didn't move here overnight. We had a 2-year plan and we were here 3 months earlier than our plan. Yeah. And we followed that plan to a T. So whatever you want to do in life, whether it's start a business, move, do whatever you want to do, make a plan, have a goal and make those steps to get to that goal and just rip the Band-Aid. Do it. You're going to regret it if you don't. Yeah. That's so good. I love that you brought up social media. So obviously we see, and you said a moment ago, like there are some people that just absolutely hate social media, can't figure it out for themselves, aren't sure how to engage with it. We each have had our own challenges of figuring out how to engage with it. So how you have made it work for you, and you've done such a great job over the last 6-9 months. So talk a little bit about like what has worked for you or why you're doing what you're doing in social media. So I think in the beginning, social media intimidated me. Now, I had personal accounts and shared things, but I was a lot more reserved. I happen to like social media as far as I can see things. I don't like the negativity of social media. Yeah. No shame on Facebook, but I'm not a big Facebook fan because I think people just pile on and bash and share undocumented things. And just because you say it doesn't make it true. Yeah. Facebook hasn't caught up with that theory. So I prefer Instagram. I don't like TikTok. I just can't seem to function on TikTok. So find your sweet spot. If Facebook's for you, stay on Facebook. But Instagram was kind of my sweet spot. And I found that I believe someone who was my business coach, what was her name? Told me to share my face. And I was super intimidated to do it, super intimidated. And I was like, all right, what's the worst that can happen? It goes away in 24 hours. Yeah. That was kind of like my theory with stories. And you were very good coaching me about like, make your feed like your brand. That's your feed, but you can be you in the stories and do whatever you want in the stories. So I forget even what the first thing was that I shared, but I got positive feedback. I was like, holy cow. So I just kept practicing, and I have run into people in person. They're like, "Are you JeriLynne? I love when you sit out on your swing." And I'm like, "Oh, people are actually watching me. I better make sure I'm careful what I say." But I honestly, I was like, "Okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to sit in my favorite spot in my house is my front porch swing, which you
Yeah.
sat out with me on." And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to make a go of it. And so getting that positive feedback was very important. And then also learning, I had gotten some negative feedback about something that I had posted and at the Pink Creatives thing. And I said, how do you not get hurt feelings by this? Because I really don't care what other people think of me. I'm who I am, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and that's okay.
Yeah.
I know that, but when strangers come on and bash you, or I had somebody that was after me about my scar on my neck.
Oh my
Like, you
gosh.
should be covering that up. That's gross. And I'm like, I had thyroid cancer, dude. You stand up and do this. Like, really? This is what you're mad
Jeez.
about.
Oh,
So he said any reaction is an interaction. And so just look at it that way. So
that's right.
I get some nasty messages, I get some sexy messages, I get a lot of things I don't want to see, and all I do is hit block,
That's
delete,
right.
and it's over. So I think that social media can be intimidating, but you just have to find your way of dealing with it. And consistency, that's the other
Yes.
thing, is being consistent.
Amen to that. Yep. So true. So true. I love that one of the parts, I would say now, of your brand that you really have become known for is grace, grit, and gratitude. Obviously, that is your mantra that you talk about. But I also love how you speak kindness and you close every day with love you, mean it. And that is just those components are so special. So kind of talk to us just a little bit about like why you decided to go there, so to speak, or, incorporate those into your social media presence, into your brand.
Well, thank you for saying that. I'm tearing up a little bit. I'm an empath, so I probably trying to fight back the tears. But I think that there's not enough kindness out there. I think that judgment is everywhere, and I'm guilty of it myself. I am far from perfect, but I think if we practice grace and be kind to people, you don't know what's going on. Like,
Yeah.
you and I had a discussion about my day before we got on, and if I was not in a great mood, might get off and be like, "What did I do to her?"
Right.
You know what I mean? So we need to be graceful and give grace to others. That is a big thing, and grace to ourselves, which I struggle
Yes.
with that. But as far as the kindness thing, when I started doing a lot of stories, I was going through some personal stuff where people were not being kind to me,
Mm-hmm.
and quite honestly, instead of these particular people are narcissists, and so you're not going to argue with the
That's
narcissist
right.
because you just get nowhere. So you
Yeah.
just have to ignore it. So my way of fighting that in my head was to just throw more kindness out there and just ask everyone else to be kind and share that kindness. I really love to buy the coffee for the person behind me in line when I'm getting a coffee or iced tea at a store. And, a lot of times when I do that, you'll get the honk honk. And then, I'll go back 2 days later and they'll say, that went for 10 cars. Like 10 other
Wow.
people did
That's
that because
awesome.
you did that.
Yeah.
So that's important. And then as far as the love you mean it, I think that first of all, we have a rule in my family that we've never like written this rule, but you don't hang up the phone without saying I love you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You never know if that's going to be your last conversation.
That's right.
And I think if you love someone, you should tell them all the time.
Yeah.
I have a group of women here that live with me in Vineyard Ridge, and we call each other sisters, and we sign off our messages with I love you. We hang up the phone by saying I love you. And I think that needs to be embraced because I do love these women. So why wouldn't I tell them that I love them?
Yeah.
So I think that my community that is on social media, I get so many positive comments. Like I get 99.9% positive comments either in DMs or on reels or on postings or whatever. And so many of them say like, I needed to hear that today, or thank you for your positivity. And so I'm just going to keep throwing that love around. And some people will just send me a message, love you too. Never met you, but I love my community and that I'm building. And I think that people deserve to hear that they are loved.
Agreed. Yeah, 100% agreed. Well, thank you so much. And I love you. I'm so grateful that you are in my life. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
Same.
Let's transition to just a couple of get to know you questions. So I know from our conversations, and we won't dive into it too much, that you're an Enneagram 2. But
Yes.
what would you consider your love language?
Oh, attention.
Okay.
I'm in attention. Just pay attention to me. And my husband is very good about that, but we could not be more opposite of people. I honestly, I think that's why we get along so well is I'm like, talk to me, talk to me, touch me. Hold my hand. And he's like, whatever, babe, just calm down. But it's funny
it.
because he says he doesn't have a love language. We all have one. We all have one. But he takes such great care of me. We call it the Statue of Liberty play when I have wine gone out of my glass and I need more. I kind of like hold my glass up and I don't even realize I'm doing it.
Oh,
he's like,
my gosh, that's awesome.
So he'll go get me wine. If I'm not home, I do a lot of events at night.
Yeah.
If I'm home, he always has candles lit, a glass of wine poured, and he just knows that he takes care of me. So I would say that's my love language. His, even though he won't admit it, is food. And I don't even know if that's a category. Is that called?
It's not one of the 5, but I think it definitely is.
Yeah. I'm not going to be home. I never leave him without food made. Not like there's bread in there. Go make yourself a sandwich. Because that's my love language to him, whether he likes it or not.
Oh, that's so good. I love how much you do talk about your marriage and relationship with Scott. And I think, it just is so lovely. And anybody who wants to see a good example of just a loving relationship can watch and learn from you. So I love that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, for sure. I know you love to laugh just like I do, and you've posted things on your stories and whatnot that you laugh about. What's something that's made you laugh in the last 24 hours?
Oh my gosh, you're just asking this question makes me oh my gosh, there is a video out there that I did post it on my stories. I don't even remember where I got it, but it's 2 sisters and they're in a discount store. I forget which one. Not Best Buy. I don't know. They're in a discount store and they're arguing about, does this say oi or is it joy missing a J? And they leans back and it's a whale. So it's the circle of the whale and the tail. Just the 2 of them laughing just had me in stitches. And I sent it to my daughter just because her and I can get the giggles like that sometimes. But I remember one time my sister and I laughing. She came to visit me when she was in college and I had first moved to Boston, and I had to pull over on the side of the road. I don't know if my sister Candace remembers what we were laughing at, but we weren't calling it drunk. We said we weren't drunk driving. We were laugh driving or something. I don't know.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So laughter is the best medicine. If you can't laugh through stuff, I mean, you need to laugh and find that. If you're having a bad day, just find a cat video. I don't even like cats. Find a cat video and they'll make you laugh. So
totally. Yeah. So good. Well, you'll have to repost that video of those sisters so we can share it.
So funny.
So good. What's something that you're currently obsessed about? Any genre, food, podcast, book, product?
All things Italy right now. My husband and I are getting ready to go on a trip that we were supposed to go for our 5-year anniversary, which was in 2020. And so it kept getting pushed back. And so I have done so much research about Italy. We've watched Stanley Tucci's show. I've been cooking recipes. So we're getting ready to go at the end of October. And so all things Italy. I'm trying to learn a little bit of the language, but I'm sure I'm saying everything wrong. So I would say all things Italian right now.
So cool. I love that. So we'll definitely have to pay attention to your stories at the end of the month. And then I'm sure you're going to do a blog post about your trip to Italy.
So many blog posts. We're going to a couple of different towns. So I'll be doing a blog post probably about each town.
Oh, awesome. Oh, I like that idea. Great. Good. Okay, I know you also post on occasion about shows that you're watching. What's the best show or movie that you've seen in the last, we'll say, 6 months or so?
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a couple. Ted Lasso. I love that show. If you haven't
Me too.
watched Ted Lasso,
It's
it's a
amazing.
feel-good show. I'm learning a little bit about soccer. I'm a football fanatic, but I'm talking, NFL type of
Yes.
football. So I really like Ted Lasso. My husband and I recently just finished rewatching The Americans, which
Oh,
I don't know if you've seen The
I
Americans.
haven't.
It was out, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, and we caught it like in season 3 and then caught up and watched the rest of the other 3 seasons live.
Hmm.
And we started watching it again. It's fantastic. The way that they interweave things that were really going on in the United States that I remember, because those are my high school days in the
Oh,
80s.
okay.
So like
Yeah.
they'll reference something that President Reagan did, and I'll remember that.
Huh.
Or I'll remember my parents talking about it, or I remember when Gorbachev was over here
Yeah.
and they were talking about the negotiations and things. So
Yeah.
The Americans is a really good show. I really enjoy that. And it's on Hulu.
Okay.
Um,
I'll
and
have to
then
look for that one.
what else have we finished watching? We don't really watch in the summertime. We tend to be outside more,
Yeah.
swimming and
Yeah.
things. So
Yeah.
I would say that those two are probably my favorites. We also watched Barry. I don't know if you've seen Barry on HBO. I think the new season's coming out pretty soon, or if it just came out. It's really interesting. I really like that actor. I can't think of his name. And the guy that played the Fonz, he's also in it. It's a little dark. That's all I'll
Okay.
say. A little
Okay.
dark.
Okay. Well,
Good.
there for those who like darker, that's a good recommendation. So good. Okay, so grew up in the 80s, as you said. What was the first concert you ever went to?
Bryan Adams, September 1985.
Oh my gosh.
Um,
Of course. You would know the day. I love that. That is so
I
good.
saw it was my first month away at college. I went to school in Rhode Island. He was at the Providence Arena, and I thought I died and went to heaven.
Oh my gosh.
And that was a pun because he had the song, the heaven song. I just can't think of the name of it.
What, I died in your arms? Is that his? I just died in your
Yes.
arms tonight.
Oh no.
Or is that not him? I don't know. We won't even go there.
But his song Heaven was my junior prom theme song.
Oh my gosh.
I think I have that right. Anyways, it was a theme song for something I did. So I was very happy to see that live. That was my first concert. I felt like such an adult.
Oh my gosh. So good. Good for you. Okay. Book that has transformed your life.
Promise Not to Laugh.
Yeah.
The first silver palette cookbook. I know that sounds crazy.
No, I love that. That makes so much sense for you.
So I wrote a blog post about it and didn't realize how much it changed my view on food until I wrote that blog post. Because, I grew up, like I said, in South Dakota, and, we pretty much ate the same things that most Westerners eat. You got to have some hot dish and with tater tots on it. I have a great tater tot recipe coming up, by the way. It's a really good hot dish. Really
Yum.
But I digress. And then, my mom is Southern. So I was exposed to a lot of things like, we had deviled eggs all the time and biscuits and sausage and crabs, like I talked about. But those were like my only things that I saw in the world. And then when I went away to college, I went to school in Providence, which was a big city. And I had a friend from Thailand, and he introduced me to all types of Asian food. Like I'd never eaten sushi. I'd never even seen sushi.
Wow.
I didn't know what any of that stuff was. So my world had been open, but it wasn't like me cooking that. But then when I read the Silver Palette Cookbook, I think I had my oldest son, Sean, was, I think he was a toddler. And maybe I even had my son, Kyle, at the time. I remember getting it, and it was like the 10-year anniversary copy. And it was like $10 at TJ Maxx or something. Like I spent a lot of money on this cookbook. I came home and I was like, wow, like that's where I learned what olive tapenade was. That's what chicken marbella, which was a standard, and I made it my own, but it was a standard in my catering days. I made chicken marbella all the time. So just learning all of those things. And I like to read cookbooks like like a book.
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
I highlight things in them, I flag them. It's crazy. And I still have that copy. And I think I showed a picture in my blog. It is falling apart, like shredded. It's 30 years old.
Wow.
But that probably changed my life to realize there's other foods that I haven't tried. Like, what's this about?
I love that. So cool. Good. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that for anyone who's interested, to your blog post as well as to the book.
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
love that. Thank you so much for joining us today. So grateful for the time with you and your words of wisdom and getting to laugh with you. You know, I love that. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you for having me. Love you, mean it.
Absolutely. Oh, love you, mean it too. Thank you. What a hoot. I am so grateful for this time with JeriLynne. She is so fun and engaging to talk with. And for those of you who are email friends with me, you know I've written about her before, particularly about how she is just fiercely loyal and fiercely loving. And you heard that through some of what she shared today. I'm just so grateful for those characteristics in her, and that she brings that to everyone that she interacts with and engages with. It's not just for a close few or something like that. So I love and appreciate the wisdom that she shared today for navigating this transition from a successful corporate career into entrepreneurial life. A couple of things that really stood out to me that she shared is about making sure that you have a group of people around you who are encouraging you and supporting you and who are your cheerleaders, because entrepreneurial life can be difficult. And so having people who surround you, who you can reach out to in those discouraging moments, is so critical and so key. I love, love, love how she talked about just rip off the Band-Aid, that you have to be willing to take the risk and just go for it, that not allowing your fears to stop you in that. And then making sure that you make a plan and that you make it happen, that you follow through on that plan. I really appreciate our conversation about social media. I know we're all trying to figure out our space in social media and what that looks like for us. And JeriLynne has done a phenomenal job of just really finding what is the sweet spot for her and what works for her. And she has some really great insights about that. Last but not least, I just love how she talked about giving yourself and giving others grace. Just such a crucial part of life, period. But definitely for anyone who's in any type of transition, but particularly a career transition like this, just such a helpful piece. So I hope you will go and follow JeriLynne. If you become an email friend of hers, she has a top 5 recommended kitchen gadgets download that she'll send you. So you can follow her through a link in the show notes. And today, go and tell someone that you love them. I saw a post not too long ago from Allie Worthington, who I really enjoy learning from, where she talks about how we need to just go and tell our friends that we love them and make it weird and make it awkward and just keep telling them. And I know that that message resonates so much with what JeriLynne talked about today. So today, go tell someone you love them. Thanks so much. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week, where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.